Hey, just put the mindfulness exercise up in the group, my Facebook group Summit, my personal Everest. But I was looking at it, and even though I learned the exercise and I developed my practice of it off of a piece of paper and took it from a book and having read it, it didn't seem to translate well when I transcribed it onto uh, when I transcribed it into the group. So I thought of trying it as a spoken word or kind of a guided meditation type of format. So here we are. The beautiful thing about this is you can really do it anywhere. Um, if you're standing in line at the grocery store, if you're sitting waiting for somebody, a kid to get out of soccer practice, waiting in the doctor's office. Those are the type of places you can actually do this drill. And it's very good because it helps broaden your attention. The key thing about this drill is being able to focus and still pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to what's going on with you. We've all had the sensation of being so focused on something that everything else in the room disappeared. You didn't notice, and somebody was talking to you, and they had to yell to get your attention because you were so focused on what you were doing. The converse of that is we also have had times when there was so much going on that you couldn't stay focused. One of the things that people remember about my gym that went there, they always remembered the amount of stuff I had outside. There was so much stuff, tires and old exercise equipment and strongman stuff and rocks and sandbags. But the other thing is they always remember it's like the only gym they go to where there's no music. And the reason there was no music was I believed it was better for training lifters in an environment where they could have a reduced stimulus. Part of it was contest performance. If you're all excited because you're used to loud music and noise, and you go to a contest and there's nothing and it's quiet, it's you're really gonna have trouble. But the other side of it is if there's too much going on. If you lift at a big commercial gym, you can relate to this. That you can't focus on what you're trying to do because you're focused on everything else around you. Everything's pinging in. The person walking by, the noise, the cute guy in the tank top, the cute girl in the spandex. They're all bouncing into your consciousness, and you can't focus on properly on the exercise technique and doing the lift correctly because there's so much that's called into awareness when you're trying to execute a maximum lift. And that's why I would go with that zero stimulus environment. Part of it too, though, is learning to deal with that stimulus, and that's where this drill actually can come in a lot. It's kind of a sensory reintroduction drill. Um, if you're not used to an environment, it helps you kind of expose yourself to it in a way that makes it more manageable for you. But what I want you to do, the drill itself is real simple. It's called the five senses drill, and that's really what we're going to do. But I want you to just kind of wherever you're at, sitting here at the computer, if you're watching me on your phone, for God's sakes, if you're driving, pay attention to the goddamn road. But no, just sit there, and I want you just to breathe a few times. We're going to take it in, and we're going to let it out. Just think back to the drill from yesterday and focus on that breath. Now, keep the breathing there. Keep it going. Breathe in, breathe out. But let it drift into the background. In and out. Drift into the background. Just let it kind of fade. Don't focus on it. Just be aware of it. Now I want you to focus on the other sensations that you're feeling. Is your body feel heavy? Are you tired from the workout that you did? If your legs are sore, if your arms are sore, what about your neck? Does it feel tight? What's the sensation of your clothes on your body? What's the what's the feel of your feet against the floor? If you're lying down, what points do you feel pressure? Maybe you don't feel pressure. Maybe it's like you're floating. Now I want you to think about, what are you seeing? Now when I say what are you seeing, I don't mean list off the things on your desk. There's 8 pens, there's a cup, there's this, there's that. But I want you to look at those pens, to look at that cup, and what are you seeing? Like if you look at it and you just become aware of it, you might not have noticed that there's a reflection on the side of the glass. Even though you've sat at your desk 100 times, there's a reflection in the glass. Maybe there's dust you didn't clean the last time, that's in a corner that you only can see at this angle. What is it? What are you seeing? Grays, browns, yellows, bright colors, reds, blues, green. Just absorb and look at what you're seeing, not the item that you're looking at. Right now I'm sitting on my back porch, and in front of me, is the green of the grass, the green of the tree, but the way the shade is on the tree and the places light pokes through the tree all the way down to the grass, and the difference between the grass and the shade and the light. I'm looking at my dog sleeping here, and how sometimes he breathes fast and sometimes he breathes slow, and you wonder what the dog's thinking about. And those are the things you want to start to see the dog, but see the hair on the dog and the way the hair points around the joints and those things. Just pay attention to what you're seeing. Next, let's go to what you're hearing. What are you listening to? Is it music that you put on? Is it noise from the other room? Right now I can hear the dog panting. I can hear traffic, on the streets around me. Birds. There's a little bit of a breeze, so I can hear leaves rustling together. One thing I didn't notice before that I'm noticing now that I'm sitting here and I'm focused on hearing is the way the sounds echo off of the walls here in the porch. I can hear the window behind me echo where the bricks on this side don't. It's something I wasn't aware of at the moment, but just stopping to pay attention. Somebody that was aware could have noticed that. Now let's go to what you're smelling. I seem pretty neutral. If you have allergies, smelling might not be something you're doing right now. Maybe it's the absence of smell. Dog's breathing over here. I'm smelling a little bit of dog breath, right? But it's the smells of outside. It's the fresh air. It's what the air in Las Cruces smells like. But what are you smelling? Is it what you cooked for lunch still hanging in the air? Is it, the chair you're sitting on, the smell of the pillows, the paper that's on your desk? And let's go to taste. What's kind of in your mouth? What are you tasting? Is it the breath mints, that you took after lunch? Maybe you're still tasting lunch. If you had fettuccine linguine with clams and a lot of garlic, you're probably still tasting it. If you maybe had fruit, perhaps you're still tasting that. But what's going on in your mouth? What are you tasting? Now, as you're sitting and thinking about what you're tasting, let's add some senses back in. So if you think about what you're tasting and what you're smelling, do the two mix together? Maybe you're smelling lunch, and now that you're thinking about it, you can taste lunch. Maybe they're distracting from each other. There's Maybe you're at the gym and you're smelling body odor from the guy next to you and you can't think about anything else. But try to hold those two. It's as if you're picking up two things and you're putting them in your arm. I understand, but you want to think about those two. What are you smelling and tasting? Now let's add sight back in. Now I want you to kind of look around, not necessarily focus on something, but just be aware of what you're looking at. And I want you to think about what you're smelling and what you're tasting. The smells and the tastes and the sights. Now let's add sounds. Now I know as soon as you start to focus on the new sense, your brain forgets everything else. But sit there, and as you're aware of the sound and you let it back in, let the other things come back in. Just let yourself think about one, and it could be like a switchboard, on a Vegas show board with different lights going on all over, and they're bouncing all over, and it's chaotic. Or it could be organized. Your brain could actually be melding it all together. Well, now let's add, the sound back in, the taste back in, the sight back in, the smells back in. What are you feeling right now? Are you aware of something you weren't the first time? Are you feeling different? Are you seeing different? Are you smelling different? And you can see this chaos that becomes of the senses, and it becomes very hard to be mindful when there's so much going on. And there's so much going on a regular basis. Us practicing these mindfulness drills help us deal with what's going on in life better. Any of us that are parents have, dealt with kids being chaotic as you're trying to fix dinner, as the phone's ringing, and one more thing happens, right? Some kid yells, some dog barks, and you friggin' lose it. You snap. And that's what it is you're just sensory overwhelmed. What we can do is we can get better at handling the noise, which means we can be better at what we're trying to accomplish in the face of that noise. And that's what the whole mindfulness focus is hopefully going to lead to. Your ability to get back and be focused and be able to switch your focus from being at work to being at home to just relaxing to doing your workout to cooking dinner, so you can learn to be aware of everything so you don't lose anything, but at the same time be focused on what you're doing. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. If you're needing more coaching in mindfulness, you want to take more of a deep dive into this than we're doing in these simple exercises, let me know. I'm available for mindfulness coaching. But anyway, if you need me, I'll be around.